Good afternoon and welcome to another in a series of TalkSports, our Saturday sports special. And I want to wish everyone a pleasant weekend, hoping that everything is going well. And this time we do, keeping our thoughts and prayers, our brothers and sisters of St. Vincent and the Grenadines who are undergoing the volcanic eruption on the island. We really hope and pray that all goes well for the folks, especially those who are evacuating. No doubt we continue with our program this weekend, and this weekend we move to the sport of boxing. The Boxing Association of Grenada, yes, it has been in turmoil for a while, especially at the organizational level, and it no doubt has affected the sport to an extent that they haven't had competitions for an extended period of time. As you recall, the last president of the Boxing Association of Grenada, passed away last month. May his soul rest in peace. That's Mr. Johnson St. Louis. But since then, there's been a lot of turmoil. Well, even prior to that, a lot of turmoil in the organization itself. That's the Boxing Association of Grenada. It has to do with some constitutional matters. And since then, they have been trying to rectify that. Well, a team of former boxers, I should say, officials, have been trying to get things back on stream in terms of the Boxing Association of Grenada, because at one point in time, Grenada has been one of the leading boxing associations in the Eastern Caribbean, the OECS in particular, and a lot of the boxing associations in the Eastern Caribbean have really taken a page from the Grenada context that's prior to what's happening now. So this week and weekend in particular, we delve into what is really happening with the Boxing Association of Grenada and how they are planning to rectify and to get the Boxing Association back into the groove so that boxers can feel a bit comfortable. Boxing fans also can feel a bit comfortable, and we can expect boxing to be back to where it has been. Joining me is a former boxer and coach himself, Mr. Davis Adams. He's live in St. George's, and he'll be speaking about what's happening with the Boxing Association of Grenada. As I welcome Mr. Davis Adams to our program and say good afternoon to you, Davis Adams. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Michael, and I want to once again thank you for the continued interest that you have played in Grenada sports and the development of Grenada Caribbean as a whole, and your preference not being to any sport but to Grenada as a community. And so it's really nice that we have people like you who's interested in ensuring that we have things in place for our young people to become involved in and to make the best of themselves. And so thank you for that opportunity to be able to speak. As we speak also, let me express my concerns and sympathies and support for the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines as they go through their time of chastening or turmoil as it relates to the volcano. So we pray and hope, as you would have said before, that everything would go well, there would be no loss of life, and hopefully things would calm down soon. And as a community, we'll gather around them, surround them, and of course, what we know works well is the fact that there's no distance in prayer, and our Christian community would continue to pray for the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines as they go through their time of need.
Yeah, and you're saying that in the context also of in terms of the proximity, Grenada's proximity to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, including our sisters of Carriacou and PD Martinique, very close in proximity. And we all recall in 1979, well, some of us were young at the time, so the Vincentians themselves, especially those of age, have had the experience of 79, just as how we had Hurricane in 55 and then we had Ivan. So there will be those who very much know the peril and the experience that they went through.
Well, yeah, and well said, to be honest, well said. But I can add to that from what you might call a primary point of view. Being from the island of Carriacou, I know the relationship we have with the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, especially the smaller islands, where Carriacou and and Union Island, Bequia, Canawan, Mairo. It was like one family, you know. I mean, I remember when, as a youngster, you know, going to school, we'd just be able to take a boat, whether it's a sailing boat or a fishing boat, and head over to Union Island to meet family, friends, even have parties over there and come over the next morning. That was the closeness and the tight knittedness of the islands of Carriacou with St. Vincent and the Grenadines, especially Union Island, Bequia, Mayo, Canawan.
Okay, thank you very much. And we move on to the issue at heart, and it has to do with boxing. We all and probably I should say up front that I may have a little bias because at one point in time I was a ring announcer for boxing, so I had a deep interest in boxing itself. A de facto PRO for the then Grenada Amateur Boxing Association, so I have a deep involvement with boxing. Yeah. And Davis, no doubt, fans will be very much disappointed to know that what is happening with the Boxing Association of Grenada. But from a historical point of view and from the context of background, what it is taking place with the Boxing Association of Grenada as it is now?
Well, if I were to start on the positive, Brother Mike, I would tell you that historically, the Boxing Association was one of the better functioning associations in Grenada in terms of sport. One of the associations that has been able to ensure that Grenada is kept on the map, and actually literally kept on the map as it relates to sports. And not many sports could have stayed on the map as boxing did for Grenada, especially in the late 70s, 80s, and to a portion of the 90s, where no matter what activity, what sporting activity we go to, boxing ensured that Grenada was well represented. Starting all the way from 1984, you'll remember, and prior to 84, because the development then was such that we were able to send quality boxers to the Olympic and be able to get results, even at the highest level. And of course, at the Caribbean level, again, Grenada was one of the islands that everyone had not just a fear of, but an envy of in terms of how we were able to churn out talent and boxers of a caliber that could match anyone in the Caribbean. And it took, of course, that relationship we had with Cuba assisted in ensuring that we were able to do that. And so we, as an association, would have been very proud of what we had done for Grenada and what we believe we can continue to do for Grenada. Nonetheless, as you would have said, we have fallen on a bit of a lean time, as many organizations go through. I mean, everything is cyclical, Bascom. And so we are going through a lean time in terms of boxing, especially as it relates to our structure and our functioning. And so I know the Grenada public has every right to be disappointed in the fact that boxing has not been able to do what they have come to expect and to anticipate in Grenada. And so, yes, we have fallen on lean times, and it mainly surrounds structure because the talent in Grenada remains the same. I do believe we still have the talent. We still have folks who want to become engaged and involved in the sport, both from an administrational end as well as from a primary end of boxing. And if not boxing, just the fact that you're able to get into it and use it for exercise and health activities. Boxing, really, we have fallen on some lean times, and we are ready and willing to ensure that we get back to where we were and go beyond that sustainable administrative function that would allow us to remain and become the envy of sporting organizations in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique.
So, but how the Boxing Association get into this position? I mean, what are the factors that led the Boxing Association when you talk about, you gave us a lot of positives, but what brought us into this lean position?
Well, it's not difficult. I'd be honest with you. the issue of boxing and the downward spiral to a great extent started with the fact that we lost our home. Everybody knows Tantin, yes? And upstairs where boxing had that portion of Tantin as its home for national boxers to come in and train. It was the center of, it was like the heartbeat of boxing in Grenada. So even if you have gyms and guys coming from all over Grenada, Carriacou, and Pitty-Matic, they will end up in the Tantin gym upstairs, what is the National Lottery office. Of course, over time, government wanted to use their building, and so boxing was kicked out of that building. And I think that started the real blow that we received. We were never able to find that central location to bring national boxers to training. And no matter where they were, they loved coming to Tantin to train because it was easy for them to get transport to go home no matter what part of the island that they were. So I don't think we ever recovered that. Administratively, over that time, we were never able to get that, although many steps were made, and I must commend the authorities then, the presidents and the executives then, who made every effort to try and find that place that will be the lifeblood of training and development. That never came. And hence, it seemed as if it might have depressed some, and so things went to a downward spiral. In addition to that, after one of our long-standing presidents, Brother Ralph James, would have resigned, the association was then charted forward by Brother Johnson St. Louis, may his soul rest in peace. And I must commend Brother St. Louis for his passion, his desire, and we would have spoken about him some time ago. So there's nothing else but love for Brother St. Louis. Of course, in his tenure, you would have found that he also felt he did not enjoy the best of health. We no longer have him with us, as I said, and may his soul rest in peace. He no longer enjoyed the best of health. And I think the supporting cast around him, I'm not so sure that they were able to lift him up the way that he should have been lifted up. And I know he'd be happy with what I'm doing now if we to get boxing going. So the structures, the administrative end, the management end of boxing took a nosedive between those years, especially 2015 to now. And we are where we are because of that lack of administrative and management function in the association. Hence, the fact that we are making every effort, Brother Bascom, to see if we can get the association functioning by forming what we call an organizing committee to begin the process. And the organizing committee is making every effort. As a matter of fact, we have written to AIBA, the International Boxing Association, for amateur boxing, of course. We've written to all our other partners, the Caribbean Boxing Association, and all the other bodies that are part of us, the Grenada Olympic Committee, to let them know where we are at. And in essence, be able to, especially AIBA, point us to doing what is right for boxing so that when we have done it, we would have done it the right way. So we have made that overture already to AIBA to let them know the situation that we are facing, and we are looking forward to them intervening in our situation.
All right. Well, I think we have not hit the button as yet, because I get the impression you are massaging, you're trying to massage the message. But let me just give you good day, Grenada, from St. Lucia. David Christopher could be someone who follows boxing from St. Lucia. And Wilbert Thomas is saying is a Carnage Boxing Gym, not Tantin. I think you mentioned something about Tantin, but he's saying that it is the Carnage. Okay.
Yes, he's very correct. Yes, Wilbur.
Yeah, the box. But from the reports I have is that the issue at heart has to do with a constitutional issue regarding the last AGM, and that the returning officer brought to the participants of the meeting. Providing you giving us, you're trying to be as transparent as possible and allowing the public to get, the information. Um, what can you tell us, Davis, regarding that constitutional issue at heart that probably was at the center of the controversy regarding the Boxing Association of Grenada's annual general meeting?
Yeah. Okay. Let me be as blunt as I possibly can. Of course, we based on our constitution, the association is supposed to have an AGM every year. So from 2015 to 2019, we probably had one AGM. So it tells you we were going against our own constitution. When we met for our AGM in 2019, and that would have been, I think, February of 2019, it was an AGM with an election. That election, of course, we were hoping would begin the process of putting us back on the right foot. At the election, the constitution that we functioned by, and I must say the 2013 constitution, it said that the term of office for executive members is 2 years. The term of office is 2 years. And of course, to become president, you must be serving on the executive for 2 years. That's the constitution the rank and file knew, the membership we knew about. At the election, it was brought to the attention of the AGM that the constitution that we are using says that in order to become president of the association, you must be on the executive for 4 years consecutively on the executive. And of course, that constitution was not one that the rank and file members has been aware of. In essence, where did that one come from? We were not aware of it. It was not ratified by the rank and file. And any proposal for amendment to any constitution must go to this highest level of decision making, and that is the annual general meeting of any association. Based on what I know, those proposals to bring the executive function into 4 years and to become president you must be on the past executive for 4 years consecutively. We were not aware of that, and hence that would have debarred almost everybody from becoming president. Because if AGM was held in 2019, it basically gave 3.5 years, maybe 3 years, 8 months to every member of the executive to be eligible for president. And hence, no one would have been eligible for president anyhow. But it seemed as if that some of the past executive would have felt that they were eligible for president, while others who would have been on the executive and may have resigned within the 4-year period that they proposed, they were not eligible. Hence, it was decided that there was a move on the floor that could not stand. And so the past executive being dissolved by the returning officer, who told us that, we knew the executive has to be dissolved, so it was dissolved. And therefore, we do not have an executive officially as a Boxing Association because it was dissolved. What the AGM did was to mandate Brother St. Louis to act as the interim president in the meantime until the AGM decides on which constitution would guide the election, whether it's the 2-year or the 4-year. Now, for the 4-year to work, it had to be ratified first by the AGM. So the returning officer told us, go and get our work right, put our house in order with the constitution, and then call him back to continue the election process that we started. That was in February of 2019. So that is the long and short of the constitutional matter that we are dealing with. And of course, if the rank and file, if the AGM did not ratify it, it could not have gone to AIBA for AIBA to say, okay, that is the constitution that you are working with. So that was the constitutional dilemma that we found ourselves in, and we are still dealing with up to this time. Now, what the AGM did, as I said, was to agree that Brother St. Louis will act as interim. In a sense, all members of the executive, all executive position was null and void. There was no one who you could have said makes up the executive of the Grenada, of the Boxing Association of Grenada. Yes? So what we did was the rank and file decided, we met again, and the rank and file agreed that an organizing committee should be put together. And that committee consisted of Davis Adams, myself, Sebastian Steele, and Brother Neil Roberts, who would have been the past General Secretary of the Boxing Association. And we met on several occasions and agreed on what we needed to do to put the association on foot. Of course, there are differences of opinion when any when any organization is meeting, where men are meeting of intellectual capabilities. There would always be differences, and so we arrived at some differences. But we went back to our AGM and we agreed with our AGM that election will be held on the 10th, which incidentally should have been today. But due to the differences, a number of meetings were not held. And then what we heard, that's the previous committee mandated by the AGM, we heard that the election has been changed to the 24th of April, and nomination forms should go to an individual. And we thought that something was not right about that. So I quickly spoke to a number of members and I said, look, we cannot allow this to happen. We need to get this thing done right. And what we have done as a group of concerned members of the association was to write to AIBA, which is where we are at. We are not saying that Brother Neil cannot go forward with election. All we are saying is that we have written to AIBA and we expect them to make a ruling on what is happening, whether it is right or wrong, constitutional or unconstitutional. But I believe I am on the right side in terms of what we are doing, because we have to get our association right, and we must get it right starting from the top.
So in essence, what it is, I don't know if you have it in front of you, but what it says, what it reads regarding the Constitution, the Boxing Association of Grenada Constitution, is it something that needs amending? Is it something that, I mean, because you're seeking clarity from AIBA, so what it is in the Constitution itself that probably needs amending, or if not, how do you hope that AIBA will be able to rule on something that is constitutional and most likely in going forward? Oh, I think we may have lost we may have lost him for a while. That's yeah, I think we have lost Davis Adams for a while, but it seems as if you know, quite a bit is going on regarding the Boxing Association of Grenada, and at least we need to seek some clarity regarding that. I think he's back on now. So Davis, yeah, it has to do with the issue regarding the constitutional matter. Do you have the Constitution in front of you and what it says regarding that particular issue?
I am.
Yeah, you hearing me, Davis?
Yeah, I'm hearing you now. I'm hearing you now.
Right.
Yes.
And I question regarding the Constitution itself. Do you have the Constitution in front of you? Do you have that particular issue in the Constitution?
Yes, I have the Constitution in front of me.
And what it says
right now.
What it says.
And that is, I'm using the 2013 Constitution.
But is it the update? And that's the current Constitution. That's
the current Constitution which we are working with, because there was some amendments made to the 2013 Constitution. The amendment was to increase the executive time of office from 2 years to 4 years. That was the amendment being made to the 2013 Constitution. Those amendments did not get to the AGM. In essence, they were proposed amendments. Yes? So the proposed amendments were not ratified by the AGM of the Boxing Association, which is the highest decision-making body. The proposals did not get to us. It did not get to members to ratify it so that it can be adopted and forwarded to AIBA. Basically, that is the long and short of the story. Changing of the term of office from 2 years to 4 years. And if it changed from 2 years to 4 years, what it said was that to become president, you must be in the past executive for 4 years. in order to be nominated for president.
Okay, so that is the real issue, meaning that to the effect that to be elected president, you have to serve on the executive for a specific period.
Correct.
Okay, and that is what you also seeking clarity from AIBA regarding.
And yes, so what we are doing is seeking clarity from AIBA as it relates to the constitution that we are using, because for our constitution to hold water, it must also be sent to AIBA, and AIBA would accept it and forward to us that that's the constitution we are using. It was never done. AIBA never received those proposals, never received those amendments, and hence we cannot be using the 2015 constitution. We have to be using the 2013 constitution for election. Basically, that's what we are saying. Okay. And whenever we have a new executive, then we can bring the proposals back to our AGM, say, look, this is what we are proposing to increase the age. And it's been done in international organizations. The Olympics in Grenada, it's 4 years now. And so bringing uniformity is nothing wrong with that. We don't have a problem with that. But of course, you cannot do it by what you might call ambushing the AGM. In essence, you ambush the AGM with a constitution that they were not aware of. That's what happened at the elections of 2019, February 2019. Okay,
so to bring clarity on that point is that the constitution to be used, or the constitution to be used, right, would be the 2013 constitution. That's what you're saying, the 2013 constitution. And it means that whatever AGM you have to be guided by the 2013 constitution. Until such time, then you may be able to adopt the 2015, providing that AIBA ratifies it. Something to that effect?
Okay, so yes. So
the association ratify and AIBA approves or whatever, back and forth, whatever.
Good. So let me agree with you 100% that I believe that, and most of the general membership believe that the election to be conducted in 2019 should have been conducted with the 2013 constitution. The proposals that were made to it, the proposals that were made for amendment could not have been used because they were not adopted by the AGM to be sent to AIBA. And hence we can have the election under the 2013 constitution. And then we can adopt the amendments or the proposals that were made for amendments at an oncoming time to change that time of office. If you use the 2015 constitution in 2019, what it would have done was taken away anybody. Nobody would have been able to run for president, because when you take from 2015, yes, to 2019, we had not gotten to the full 4 years. It should have been November of 2019. We're holding election in February of 2019, hence 3 years and some months. So no matter how you spin it, it was not going to be constitutional because nobody would have served on the past executive for a consecutive 4 years.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's get some comments. So actually, David is actually the president of the St. Lucia Boxing Association, and you're saying that Grenada won fire in 2017 when they came here and won the boxing tournament, the Caribbean boxing tournament. So thanks, David. David Christopher is the president of the St. Lucia Boxing Association, and he has been chiming in. And Kathy Harper-Hall, General Secretary, Barbados Boxing Association, fully supports the interim committee. Hope you meet your objectives. That's from Kathy Harper-Hall, and we no doubt know that Kathy is very much in tune with boxing, not just in Grenada, not just in Barbados, but the Caribbean as a whole, and to an extent, the international boxing circuit. Roger Duncan is saying that boxing has a real chance to find a home in a parish outside of St. George's. It will find greater support there and give a parish the opportunity to establish itself as the mecca of the sport. St. George's is a box, and we need to think outside of it. In that way, everybody wins. Thanks, Roger. Roger always with some sort of some thinking outside of the box. I thank you for that, Roger. Kathy is coming back and say, I am so very happy that things are beginning to fall into place for Grenada's boxing to regain its rightful place constitutionally. Then Stefan John puts in, good afternoon, quick question. So with all these issues in the association, when do you believe boxers and coaches will get back into action? What is the timeline? Anything you can tell Stefan Davis?
Well, let me say this. I understand the sentiments and of boxers. As a matter of fact, I feel for our boxing community because we are aware of the fanatic following that we have. We are aware of the passion and the energy of our boxers. And they really want to do well for us as Grenadians. Hence, which is why I am taking it on me as part of the boxing family to get like-minded people. So I work with a couple like-minded members and form that committee so that we can craft that letter, craft that correspondence to send to AIBA so that they can get a feel of what is happening. First and foremost, we were not having AGM annually, and that's basic for any association like boxing. If you are not having annual general meetings, then you have basically left your people out of what is happening. Secondly, we do not have even secretarial reports, annual secretarial reports to be sent to our AGM. That again shows that we have not done well. Hence, I believe, and I would like Stefan and Kathy and all of those out there and Wilbur to place that pressure on us to be able to get it right so that the decentralization of boxing that was spoken to by one of the gentlemen, you can now hold the feet of the executive to the fire to say, look, we mandated you. We gave you the authority to manage, to take boxing, not just in St. George, but out of St. George, into the other parishes where the talent pool is even probably better than or greater than, even in St. George. And I know I could take some flack for that. And so I believe what we are doing now, being able to go out on a limb, I know the criticisms will come, but I was able to work with a number of individuals, like-minded, Sebastian Still, Lyle Bolin, Dr. John, past executive members, to come up with that correspondence that we need to send so that when we get it right, what is being asked for by the boxers and what the Caribbean community is expecting of Grenada, we hopefully, and using a terminology that's current, we can deliver that to the public of Grenada and to our Caribbean colleagues. So Stefan, Kathy, we'll try our best and we hope AIBA will send information soon as to the way forward. But I believe as an organizing committee, we are doing what we're supposed to do.
Okay, because Stefan came back to say what would be the point of having an association when the main reason is for boxing, and that boxing, well, there's no Grenada Boxing Association, Stefan. There's a Boxing Association of Grenada with no boxing. What is the real mission going forward? But I think Kathy is responding to say, Stefan, you have to build your house before you can live in it. So I think it's the point you're making is that you have to ensure that the association is on sound footing as it relates to going forward, because it doesn't make sense having a shaky association trying to organize boxing or trying to run boxing. You have to make sure that the association on sound footing. But
before you go, Mikey, I'd like to respond to Stefan because Stefan is right. There is a very, very big disappointment from the boxer's end. I was a boxer for myself, of course, so I knew what I would like to see. I mean, I want guidance. I want people to tell me this is where we are going. I want guidance. I want people to say, well, the tournaments we have signed up for, so you have to train. So I have a goal in mind. I have an objective in mind. I know where we are going. And as Kathy would have said, if you have a house with parents and the parents are dysfunctional, the children will not find it their way. And so while I understand where Stefan is coming from, because even me as a boxer, I knew that I wanted to get direction as to where we are going. So when I have to train, I know what is my goal, what I am working towards. But if the house is not in order, then the decision making to get boxers to train, like Stefan would like, boxers to know where they are going, it cannot be done. And so, Stefan, hold tight. We will get it right. I'm sure we will get it right. And we're going to ensure that the last time we can regain as much as possible and put us on a position, on a foundation of strength. So, Stefan, hold tight. We're going to make sure we get there.
Well, I assume you may want to tell Wilbur hold tight too, because he's saying once the Grenada Association figures out the internal conflict, I would love to host a boxing event, giving our local boxers a platform. So, Davis, I think your work is cut out, right?
Let me respond to that, and I will respond. The truth is, Mikey, that our tournaments at Tantine they were always exceptionally well supported. So when we go to Tantine, we know we expect the Grenadian community to come out. When we went to the youth center, we knew that they would turn out. When we were at Queen's Park, you would remember when we had our first OECS tournament in Queen's Park in 1985 or 86. You understood, you realized the turnout that was there. And then, of course, we had our own internal competitions that gave the fire to our boxers, that put us in a position where we were competitive no matter where we went. Even if we didn't have as much fights as others, we were competitive. And if we do not have that platform for our boxers, then of course we would not be going anywhere. So Wilbur's suggestion of having boxing, coming up with plans for competitions, I would accept that 100%. Why not have a Grenada Golden Glove for the primary schools, for the secondary schools, for our national boxers? Why not have tournaments in different parishes? Even when we went to Carriacou, and Carriacou, you would know, is a hotbed for boxing talent. And of course, I'm from Carriacou too. So the Adams is from Carriacou. Everybody remember Joe Adams, one of our finest heavyweight boxing champion. Everybody would remember how much he did. Of course, no one can forget people like Sebastian Steele and Kenneth Joseph. All those are boxers whose teeth were sharpened in Carriacou. And Carriacou is still having that sort of a passion, that sort of organization. What is happening is Carriacou does not have the forward progress. They do not have goals and plans from the executive of boxing in Grenada. And hence, Carriacou is at a standstill to an extent. Boxers going out and train, but not much to be done. Therefore, we have to get the house in order. And so I believe that the competitions will come back, the passion will come back if we get our house in order so that Grenada could go back to where it was. The pinnacle, not just of the Eastern Caribbean, but of the Caribbean, because we could have competed with anyone.
All right, we're talking about Carriacou, talking about Sebastian Steele. He's saying kudos to Brother Davis and members of the steering committee in bringing a meaningful structure back to the Boxing Association of Grenada. And David Christopher, president of St. Lucia Boxing, is saying Grenada needs to get together ASAP because of the young pool of good boxers and coaches like Shane and Sebastian. Only the boxers will suffer. And Stefan is coming back to tell Cathy, that could be very true, Miss Cathy, but when you take a very long time to build your house, you will have a lot of homeless people waiting for this dream house. Very interesting comments. Keep the comments coming, folks. So when you keep too long, Davis, when you stay too long to build that house, you will have a lot of homeless people. And he's referring to the boxers. Keep the comments coming, folks. Well, Wilbur is saying we are on the same page, Davis. Keep the comments coming, folks. Very interesting comments. So the way forward, Davis, I know it will be a long road ahead. Hopefully things will be ironed out, things will be smoothed out. And it seems as if you're getting the support of the boxers and former boxers, hopefully. And that it appears that once you can convene a meeting, and hopefully that this meeting can agree to go forward with the, as you indicated, the 2013 Constitution, and then take it from there. Are you getting the impression that that is likely to happen?
Okay, let's put it like that. We have made the first baby step. It took a lot of planning, and I must commend all the members of the like-minded members who got together to craft a correspondence to AIBA and to the other bodies in the Caribbean to let them know where we are at. Because I believe our Caribbean brothers, as you would have noted from St. Lucia and Barbados, would like to see Grenada back on track. So we crafted that letter, and it was sent to the Ministry of Sports, it was sent to the Olympic Committee, it was sent to AIBA, it was sent to the Caribbean body, and it was sent to our Latin American Central body. That letter is to let them know where we are at. So we believe that we're going to get some traction on that. In the meantime, I take the opportunity to reach out to the other members to tell them that we welcome everyone on board to this new development. Brother Roberts, who was part of the previous organizing committee, I take on my own to extend that olive branch to him to become part of the structure, the functioning, the organizing, and getting us back together in a cohesive way, in a way that's not confrontational, in a way that will lead to the Boxing Association regaining face, regaining structure, regaining the support of members and the rank and file, and we can go to anywhere, any part of Grenada, whether it be the schools, the ministry, the Olympic Committee, and we can say, this is where we are at, and they will be proud and say, we want you to do well. So I extend that olive branch to everybody to come on board and listen for the developments as to when we're going to have another annual general meeting of members, yes, of members, so that we can put this thing together. It must not be one person who is saying, send me nomination forms so that I would know who is nominated. It must not be one person to say that I am in charge of organizing the election, which is what is happening now. And hence the like-minded committee coming together and deciding if we cannot get through in that way, then we can go to the ultimate authority to tell them to intervene in this situation and ensure that our house is in order. I know Mr. Grant will be happy to know that, and that's one of our long-standing coaches, would be happy to know that we want to get it right. Nobby has been with us since, I mean, you cannot even think of how long ago Nobby has been the body of coaching in Grenada, and he's still around and still wants to see us grow. As I said, Brother Johnson would have died, but I know he'll be proud of the fact that efforts have been made to get this done. Whether it is liked or not by individuals, he would be happy. So I am reaching out to everyone. If they want to be on board, to contact us, contact me, contact Sebastian, contact Rufus, contact Nakita, contact anyone, and find out what next. Give us your suggestions. Let us meet as a general body and let us chat the way forward. But in the meantime, we await AIBA's ruling on what is happening in Grenada.
Okay. Some comments coming in. That's Dr. Deborah and Stevens. John is saying boxing should be respected. The boxers have done well in recent years. It's not good to fail them. The way is to get the way forward, rather, is to get the house in order. And Ishan Munir is saying, proud to see Grenada boxing getting back on track. Boxing provides a vital outlet for many, and it ought to have the support it needs to provide the opportunities that boxers deserve. And Dr. John is saying that transparency is a must. Interesting that you mentioned also the name of Norbert Grant. I think it's MBE, BEE, whatever. But he is
Yeah.
a one who has
MBE,
been
yes.
MBE. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's actually in his 90s, right? And
Yes, Nobby's in his 90s at this
in his
time.
90s, and for all that it's worth, still has an interest, still has boxing at heart. And again, I'm saying, if we are to really recognize those people who have been providing that sort of support to sports, and I say sports in general, Norbert Grant is one who obviously will get a gold medal for his support. And to boxing, he would have trained and coached many of our boxers over the years. And still continues to have that interest in boxing. If you have boxing today, I'm certain that he will find his way somewhere or the other to be around the ring. Norbert Grant has given quite a bit to boxing, and I believe that that sort of recognition should be made to Norbert before he leaves us. And if it's one thing that this interim committee could do, is to ensure that the Boxing Association of Grenada is back, the house is back in order. At least that will also pay respect to not just Johnson St. Louis, as you mentioned, and other boxers who would have, not just administrators, but boxers, the Trevor Twaits and others who would have left us, is to ensure that the Boxing Association is back in order. Yeah, you go on.
Yeah. There was a comment by someone just before Deborah Stevens joined. I wanted to comment on it. I think Ilhan, it's almost like an Arabic name. Yes. It's important. And I wanted us to spend a couple minutes on that, Brother Bascom. The issue of providing outlet. Now, when I got into boxing, I got into boxing as a student, continued to box as a teacher, continue to coach as a teacher, continue to be interested in boxing as a school principal, which I am now. I have watched boxing provide that outlet for a tremendous amount of young people. I'm starting with the males. A tremendous amount of young males. If boxing was not present for them, I shudder to consider what would have been their outcome in life. I shudder to consider where they would have been in life. Boxing has provided that outlet. In addition, not only an outlet, but it has also provided a platform for life. Experiences gained, relationships developed, contacts made through boxing. Many of our boxers are no longer in Grenada, or former boxers. Many of them are in the United States and England and in other parts of the Caribbean. And this became possible because of boxing. They're able to earn a living. They're able to work. They're able to provide for their families. That's what boxing has done. So they may not have become professional boxers, but boxing provided a platform for them to be able to harness that sort of energies that they had. And in some cases, it would have been deviant energies that would have allowed them to be in places they should not have been. I am happy to see many of our boxers became gentlemen, became good citizens, became good fathers, became good providers. So boxing is not only for the sport and the glamour of the fight or the day, but we are hopeful the experiences gained, what you learned, the discipline that you picked up can be transferred. So the comment that was made of the outlet for boxing, people could get into boxing just for the fact that it helps them to become what they want to be. It helps them in terms of their health and their wholeness, physical health, mental health. Boxing has done that for so many people. And I'm very, very happy to see that comment made. The outlet boxing gives to other folks. I'm not saying it isn't done by other sports. It's done by lots of other sports. And that's why sports is so important as an outlet for people who may not be able to be intellectual, but you can use their hands, their feet, their fingers, and whatever it takes, they're able to navigate because their minds are of a different set up in a different way, to excel in different ways. So that outlet part, whoever made that comment, I am so happy because as a teacher, I'm a principal, and I see the deviance that can be in people. I know of people, for example, who were pointed to sports because they were ill-disciplined. If I should use a more negative term, bad behaved. And they were pointed into sports by the teachers, the principals, and others who had charge over them, and use sport to become better people. So we cannot look at boxing as just going in the ring and fight, but providing outlet for development for people in Grenada, Caribbean, Pitty, and throughout the world.
Yeah. So, right. So, Rudian was saying that the skills they have. Okay. Yeah. He was referring to the not just the boxing, but sports in general. And you rightly said that sports in particular providing an opportunity, an avenue, an opportunity for especially the young ones. But talking about the young ones, we know that boxing has attracted, and of recent, would have attracted not just young people into the sport, but women. We had a cadre of females that were actually involved, and we have not heard much since then. And obviously, it has to do, to some extent, with the problems regarding the association itself. So, how you're hoping in going forward, even as an interim committee, to address some of these issues, and not just waiting until the association gets on its feet, but addressing some of the issues in terms of participation, involvement, recruiting, because the boxing has really gone through a bad patch in recent times.
So let me say it this way. We have a foundation already. I remember we had one of those rings that were donated to us by the Americans. It was those rings that took almost a day and a half or 2 days to set up. Of course, the executive in the past, through Brother Ralph James, who was president of the association for a while and did yeoman service to the association, Ralph was able to, and along with his executive, to ensure that we have a ring that is a property of the association and is easier to move, easier to set up, easier to place anywhere to have competitions. Of course, we would like to have more, but we have a foundation. And I am saying that with those foundations that were laid before, all we need, so we have structure, we have some resources, we have people who are intimately involved in terms of coaching, there is structure. So for example, we have Brother Shane Joseph, who uses his Excel Plaza gym for boxers to train both for local and national. We have Sebastian Still. No matter what, he's still working in Carriacou, training boxers. We have Joel Lewis, who is still working, training boxers. We now have on board a very hard-working gentleman. When he comes, he just have a passion for it. Mr. Benjamin from St. Paul's, Stephen Benjamin, who has a deep passion for seeing boxing go forward.
That from St. Paul's or River Road?
From St. Paul's. Yes, Stephen Benjamin.
Remember, you're originally from River Road, eh? Yeah.
Correct.
Just giving you that.
Thank you. And Stephen Benjamin, we cannot have anything but high praise for the passion, the excitement, the energy which he has brought. What Stephen needs, what Sebastian needs, what Shane needs, what Joel needs. And I do believe we also have another gentleman who is doing work with boxers and mixed martial arts, one called Alex James. So there are quite a number of people in the outside who has the talent and who has the passion and is working. What they don't have is structure. So if the structure comes by the end of April, I can assure you those leverages can be put to bear and we can quickly bear fruit in terms of what we can put out there. It would not take long because there are people out there who are working. There are people, boxers out in our diaspora who's looking for Grenada to work with Grenada, to come to Grenada, to bring their talent and what the skills they have learned to represent us. So we have many, many people out there. We have people out there who are waiting for the structure. So I don't believe it will take long to address a question asked. It would not take long. What we need to do is quickly get on our feet by putting the administrative arm of boxing together, because all the other arms are ready and waiting on administration. And it must not be an administration of a single individual. It must be an administration that represents the rank and file. When the administration speaks, it speaks as an executive and not as an individual. And therefore, that's why I could not understand why nomination forms should go to an individual. Why one person could decide that they would want to decide that election should be done that way. And so that's why we believe in the collective, and why we have many people on board with us, working with us to ensure that we get that all the way. So as soon as we get that response from AIBA, I can assure you that we will be able to move fast. We'll be able to deliver quickly to the expectations of the boxers and the public.
Okay, so there is a timeline you working with in terms of getting things forward, and an important element of that timeline is actually waiting on AIBA in terms of a response. You indicated that the documents or whatever it is were not sent to AIBA, but that was prior to. I'm getting the impression now that everything has been sent to AIBA and it's just a matter of waiting on a response.
Yes, let me confirm that every bit of document that we had to support the need for getting our house in order. Remember, the document is to support the need for getting our house in order. It's not to destroy any individual. It's not to destroy people. That was not the intent of writing to AIBA. The intention is to ensure that we get it right. So anybody who is willing can come on board with us and ensure that we get it done right. Hence, we are waiting on AIBA. Yes, so part of our constraint will be getting response from AIBA, because I am sure that even if we get from our Caribbean Boxing Association, which is now putting its house in order, as a matter of fact, they have an interim committee in place. Because remember, we had the Caribbean Boxing Association, which was made defunct through the restructuring of Central America and the Caribbean. It didn't work to our benefit. But we are now returning to what worked for us so we can have a Caribbean boxing tournament. And these people are now putting things together to ensure that Caribbean boxing, especially the English-speaking islands, are able to function the way they functioned prior to the disbanding of the Caribbean Boxing Association and the swallowing of that association within the Central America and Pan America. That's where it was swallowed. But now the intention is to bring it back to where it was. And so that is happening. And therefore, writing to them is in courtesy and for the reinforcement, affirmation of what we are doing as to be good, because the final decision rests with our parent body, AIBA. So hence we are waiting on AIBA. And as soon as AIBA respond, I believe we can quickly get our general meeting, our membership to come together, whether in FaceTime or in Zoom time, online time, because that's where the world is. There is no distance in having a meeting anymore. So Carriacou don't have to come down to Grenada to have a general meeting. Boxers in the diaspora who are members of the association and financial members don't have to be there in person, and we can send out that invitation to all and sundry that we're going to have that meeting, and we're going to decide exactly based on what AIBA has told us. We'll decide how we're going to go about structuring ourselves, getting our executive back together, putting our plans together for the year and for 2 years and for 3 years and for 4 years, sending our financial statement to our parent body, having minutes to send out to our members, and to the Olympic Committee so that we can access the funding and the support in whatever way. Even now, even without minutes, AGM, the Olympic Committee is still funding boxers going out, hopefully, to qualify for the Tokyo Olympics. That should be coming sometime in August of this year. I mean, we could not have had better benefactors. Even with a dysfunctional executive, we could not have had better benefactors. So we still have Tristan Brooks and we still have Rufus Clement, who are scheduled to leave this country at some point soon to go off to Argentina to take part in the qualifying tournament. So there are things in place, and I'm asking our boxers to hold tight as we put structures in place to bring the association back to light and back to energy and excitement.
And as Stefan said, put the dream house in order, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree, Stefan.
Yeah, but you know, the important aspect too, as you indicated, is getting the cooperation and the support, not just of the public but the boxers, and hopefully that they do understand, you know, what is happening. And I think part of it has to do with the message, you know, getting the message out, the being transparent as possible. For those who probably just joining us, in terms of the interim committee, who are those actually involved in the interim committee, whether it's a chairman or acting chair or whatever, but who are the members of the interim committee?
Okay, so the interim committee that I formed, in speaking to several members of our boxing family, we have a former past secretary treasurer, Nakita Noel. We have Sebastian still as a coach, representing coach. We have Rufus, Rufus Clement, who is a boxer and he's getting ready, preparing to go to Argentina for the qualifying tournament. And we believe I try to get across section. I have Dr. John also, who was a past executive member. And as a matter of fact, she's on the medical committee of many organizations of AIBA. Dr. John is also a part of that committee. So we go to her for advice because she's been traveling the world doing medical for various boxing tournaments in the Caribbean, Pan America, throughout the world, invited to so many things. And so we are able to go to her and ask her to be an advisor to the committee also. So we have, as I said, Sebastian Steele, Rufus, Nakita, Dr. Deborah and Stevens John, and myself making up that committee to ensure that we get a cross section. We get boxers, we get coaches, we get folks in the medical field who can assist us in charting the way forward. And because they have so much interaction with the international community, Dr. John is able to give tremendous advice to the committee so that we can move forward. So that is what the committee is made of. And of course, we take advice from anybody else who would want to be part of and want to sign in and want to give us whatever the advice that they can give so that we can take boxing forward, even in terms of structure, in terms of plans for boxing, where, what, how we can do things. In terms of where do we have gyms, we used to have a central gym, and there's a gentleman who made a comment that, and he's correct, why not go to the outer parishes, because we seem to want to put everything in St. John's. This should be the vision of a new executive. That is to be able to not localize boxing in St. George, like the Thomas St. George only, and believe that there's no other talent in St. Andrew and St. Patrick and St. David. What do we do? And so I know that that's a mandate that they will give to us, to a new executive coming in, whoever they are, because I am going to ensure that that mandate is kept, whichever that executive will be, that we are going to ensure that boxing is not centralized, but it's decentralized, just like football and cricket. All the parishes can find a place where they can go and train and be able to contend for representing Grenada at whatever level that we can represent them. That's the goal. That's what I see. That's what the organizing committee sees. But of course, we need to put the structure in place. So we want everybody to make themselves available for nominations who feel that they have something to give to the association. And once they have something to give to the association, make yourself available to be nominated, to run for positions, and to account to the people who put you there. That's what is the vision that we have in mind.
Okay, I may have mentioned interim committee, but thanks, Sebastian, for correcting me. I think it's a steering committee because the steering in itself, steering in itself refers to an advisory, more of an advisory body that is, providing advice, ensuring the delivery of the outputs of the projects, etc., etc. The Dr. Deborah Stephen John is saying Lyle Bullen, referee judge. I think it's
correct. That's another member of the committee. Yes, that's the other member I forgot.
Right, a steering committee. And Roger, as usual, is saying that the association needs a social media expert. In this day and age, I think it's important. It may not be an expert, but someone with some sort of knack for social media, because the messaging, as I keep saying, a lot of the problems we have with functional associations sometimes, it has to do with the messaging. And, sometimes, and as Roger will indicate, as it relates to social media, gone are the days of just a public relations guru. You need someone who is more or less has a knack to social media and can get the message across social media. Very important indeed, because it's important for the not just the boxers, but you want your fans, you want your sponsors, you want others to be you consider them stakeholders, important stakeholders, and you want them to be involved. But it's interesting to know that there are timelines, and hoping that you can meet the timelines. I'm hearing from you things like the end of April, which is a matter of probably 2 or 3 weeks. And I'm hoping, Davis, that is not a situation where you trying to bite too much too quickly. But it's meaningful and achievable timelines. Is there any way that you think that based on how things are going, that you will be able to achieve those timelines, you will be able to achieve those targets, bearing in mind that the most important element now is that of a response from AIBA?
Yes, Brother Bascom. I think we will be constrained only by AIBA, because all the boxers basically are, we basically communicate very easily. So
but knowing for a fact that AIBA has its own internal problems as well, eh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I was going to get to AIBA and the internal problems. Now, we must consider AIBA just recently had an election, yes? And they have a new president and a new executive. And the new president and new executive, I must say, are aware of boxing being in a very poor standing with the Olympic Committee, the International Olympic Committee. They are making every effort to ensure that boxing becomes, once again, hopefully almost an apple of the eye of the Olympic Committee in how they operate. Because how AIBA had operated in the past allowed the International Olympic Committee to put them almost what you might call on a persona non grata platform, to the extent that they did not recognize AIBA as being the body that represents boxers, and boxing was going to get through to the Olympic in a different format, that is, give an organizing committee to get boxing in. That's how bad it became, where AIBA did not have power authority to be the one responsible for sending boxers. But I believe Dr. Kremliev, who became the president, is acutely aware of putting houses in order, including AIBA's house and membership house. So I would believe that our office in Lausanne, Switzerland, will be moving extremely quickly to be seen as one that is ready to ensure that boxing becomes what it was, what it is supposed to be. So I anticipate that they would not sit on that letter that they would have received. So that's my hope. That's the premise on which I am saying I believe that we're gonna get correspondence response soon, and we believe that by the end of April we shall be able to move forward. That's my firm belief. Yes.
And with all the timelines, I know we don't want to step too much ahead, but when can boxing fans, start seeing boxing? I mean, it takes a while, and you know, you raise an issue there regarding the ring, because I know, and I don't know of recent how it has been, but I know previously how much it takes in terms of, if you have let's say you have a boxing tournament on you have a boxing, you know, card on a Saturday, for example. The on a Friday you have to get the ring, you know, down, and it takes quite a while, and a couple folks to put the ring up, and you know, all these sort of things. You have to have the truck available. I mean, the whole logistics regarding that, and especially where sometimes you used to store the ring, and then if you have the ring, if you have the tournament in Tantine, or you have it at the youth center, for example, getting it to the actual venue itself, putting it up and showing everything in place. You know, the logistics for hosting a boxing tournament, a card, you know, it takes a lot. But, you know, the fans don't really, you know, care much about that. They just want to see boxing, you know. So I don't know if you factor in these things in terms of your timelines, but when can fans rest assured that they will be able to see boxing once again on the sporting calendar?
It's a question that I believe will be answered in the affirmative, and I'm speaking on on knowledge. For example, Brother Stephen Benjamin, has a gym with not just boxers out of school, but boxers in secondary school. They are waiting with bated breath as to when we can have a tournament. The only reason we can't have a tournament is because we don't have the people tasked to organize it. We don't have an executive in place. Sebastian has a gym filled with folks from Carrico. Shane has members coming to his gym. It would not take much for us to be able to get Tantin playing field, get the youth center. It would not take much. And I can assure you, because of the goodwill that we have, because of there, folks will be hoping that they can see tournaments coming up. Should we get response quickly? Should we have our AGM quickly and have our election quickly? I can assure you, Brother Bascom, that before the end of May, we can have at least one or two tournaments taking place to give our boxers just a level of what you call appetizer going forward, a level of knowing that we have not forgotten them. And I believe that's all they're waiting on. But the structures are in place, the gyms are in place, the coaches are in place. What we need is the association. And once that is put in place, Wilbur will be able to see FaceTime, boxing streamed on Facebook in the United States as an athletic director at a university. Wilbur will be able to see that. Our diaspora will be able to see that. Tristan in Canada will be able to see that. Rufus will be able to see that. And we may be able to get many of them coming back to our to having tournaments in Grenada and be able to input into it. So I cannot give an exact time, but I believe by the end of May, for the latest, we can have tournaments because the structures are there. It's just waiting for organization and input from an executive end to have that done. So I'm not worried about getting a boxing tournament together because we have the physical resources there to do it. It's just a matter of going out to our stakeholders or the companies who would have promoted us the companies who would have donated to us, and the Olympic Committee that has been doing yeoman service for us, who has helped us no matter what situation that we are in. And they, I'm sure, will work with us to ensure that we get our first tournament back together and get it done well. So I'm very hopeful, very encouraged by what is happening and the responses that we are getting. I am very encouraged. As I said, my thing is everyone make themselves available to assist, and once they do that, I think we will be able to get our association and boxing back on the map for Grenada in the near future.
Well, Sebastian is saying that Carriacou and Pity Matic in the competition mode. So I know you can't leave them out. And Roger Duncan is saying Mr. Adams presents himself credible and deserves our support to advance the plans and programs of the BAG. Roger, just to let you know that it's no more the GBA, but now the BAG, Boxing Association of Grenada. And Mr. Adams has my support. And Dr. Stephen Johns is saying if the COVID pandemic permits, so I assume in reference to having boxing tournaments, providing that the situation with the COVID pandemic as it has affected not just boxing, but other sports. But I think it's a good excuse for boxing for the time being. And I'm saying for the time being, because there's hope that probably as soon as the pandemic is over, hopefully, that folks can be, start moving out, going out again, and converging and watching sports. And one of that, obviously, be boxing, hopefully. Boxing. But what is the situation regarding the equipment? You're talking about resources available, and it's just a matter of the only thing is the organizational support. So in terms of the rings and all these things, we do have those things available.
Okay, so let me respond. Let me respond to it this way. Again, I would have made mention of Brother Ralph James in terms of accessing a ring for Grenada. It was a need, and we got it. We got it. We got that ring that Grenada needed. Of course, we need two. We need one more. That is one for Carriacou. And we are hoping that this executive will be able to work toward garnering the goodwill of our international partners out there to get another ring. Because in order to be very effective, we must be able to have rings and not be able to be toting one around all the time. So we will work with what we have. We will work with what we have. And let me say, through Brother James and his group, many folks have been trained to set up and take down the ring in very quick time. That is no longer a problem. We have Imrod and a group of folks that have been trained to set up and put down the ring. We're hoping that Carriacou could get one that could stay in Carriacou because they can have a tournament almost every month due to the number of boxers that they have, and we should not have to bring up a ring. We're hoping that we could have a ring station in another part of Grenada, not just St. George. So yes, the ring is there, and that's the first ingredient that we need. The ring is there. Of course, the boxes are already there. And so the doctors are there. We have doctors that are willing to come forward. For example, Dr. Deborah Stevens John. There's another doctor, I think James, who is also part of us. And whenever we have tournaments, we have doctors present. So those critical areas are there. I must commend again the Rev. James executive, because in terms of training, we have training for referees, training for judges, training for coaches. All of those took place. So we have the people in our midst who have been trained in referee judging, coaching, refereeing. We have all of those. So we have a multitude of talent, knowledgeable people out there who can come forward and ensure that we have successful tournaments. So the structures are there. The resources are there, both human and physical. Of course, you always want more material resources to make life easier. But we cannot say we cannot hold tournaments once a month if we choose to. We cannot say we cannot hold tournaments once every 2 months if we choose to. It's just that it's going to be intense because we have one ring. That's the most important. That's what I can add to what you're asking.
And one ring, meaning the same ring that you'll have competition, is the same ring that will be used for training?
Yes, that's for sure. Although we had one ring that could not have been taken down. We used to have this old ring that was in library at one time. It was taken down, and I'm telling you, it's really an antique. It takes about 4 persons for every part of it. So you cannot pass people through that. It is still, we can still find it, make it useful if it is really, I mean, something that's urgent, but it really is not friendly to anybody. The new ring that we have is what we believe it's friendly to us. It's easier to take down, put up. The older one is like building a house, with concrete.
Oh, okay. Well, it's interesting because I know there was once an appeal or a call for having, well, I think it was just something that was just thrown out with the hope of having at least a ring available for each parish, including Carriacou. It would be nice, they said, to have at least and have it somewhere so that in the event that you want to stage a boxing tournament in, for example, St. John in Guelph, you have one there that you just put up, you can use, and it's also good for the association in terms of spreading the sport, decentralizing the sport, because who would have thought that most of our excellent or good boxers, most of our boxers, if not all sometimes, or I shouldn't say all, but when you have a national team, at least there's a representative from Carriacou. Carriacou has been well represented over the years in terms of having a boxer on the national team, at least one, sometimes 2, 3, but Carriacou at least represented. So it makes sense for at least Carriacou to benefit from having at least a ring or two, one for at least for the training and one for competition, because you wouldn't be in a situation where every time you want to have something in Carriacou, you have to send it up by the boat or and get people to go up there. Carriacou should have something that is Carriacou's own. It's permanent in Carriacou. So when they want to have a tournament, when they want to train, there is something there. Sebastian is saying a national gym would enhance the preparation of the national team. That is something that has been talked about for a while. Having a national gym that that can be used for the boxers. As it is now, thanks to folks like Shane and others that you basically relied on to get our boxers trained. So there is quite a lot in store for that steering committee in the interim, and hopefully as soon as things are on stream, you have quite a lot in terms of projects to accomplish. No, you're muted.
Yes. As I was saying, it's a lot to accomplish. What for me, my vision is there's a lot of goodwill out there in the community, and when I say community,
right, and I'm seeing that by some of the comments as well.
Yes,
there is.
Yeah. So I think we can leverage the goodwill of the community to assist us to grow. So whether it is the region, and there are countries in the region who are able to have more than others and who can help, whether it is in the international community, there are those in the international community who are out there waiting for someone to put before them a proposal, who may not know that we have a need, but if we can bring it out to them. So my vision is taking boxing to the international community. So many out there are willing to be benefactors of associations that they can see how their philanthropy can benefit communities and groups. And there are lots of them out there. So an executive with a vision will look to those philanthropic organizations out there to say, look, this is what we are putting forward for sustainable human development in boxing, in sport, in our communities, to help our communities move out from not having a way to move to behave, give them other avenues to place their talents in. And I believe a new executive, and I'm saying that I guess those who come in to use those that are out there to get your plans to fruition. So getting a ring from an organization in the United States, in England, or diaspora, I believe those are all possible if we put our mind to it. Those are possibilities that are not probable, but very, very, very possible. So an executive with a good plan, a good development plan, whether it's 2 years or 4 years, cycles like the Olympics, and they can put those structures in place and have those things happen. And so we can develop the sports, and real development we are talking about, develop the sports in such a way that it becomes easier to access for all those who want to become, want to associate with boxing, with the exercises, with the fitness challenge. Whether you want to box or not, but you like the fitness challenge, we are there for you. So hence, I believe there is enough goodwill out there, as would have been suggested by all those who commented, to ensure that our small island can have one of the better programs in place, and so on. I am convinced, with all of my being, that that could happen and happen in Grenada.
There was once this stigma for the sport of boxing that it's brutal, it's this, it's that. How, for a parent listening or watching, how do you convince that parent that boxing is a very safe sport and that it's safe enough for their son or their daughter to participate in?
That's a brilliant question, Michael. It's an excellent question. It's always one of those things I debate in my house, around other people, about the safety of boxing. And I say it this way. We are recognizing that every sport has a risk. The risk that boxing has for all sports is that of concussion. Yes? So concussion is a big thing in most sports. So football is dealing with the issue of how to deal with concussion. I recently read a report on a BBC article where a child said that her father, who has, I can't remember if he died, but had Alzheimer's or dementia. He or she is certain that he got it from heading football. Yes, we know that whatever sport you play, where there's a possibility of falling and knocking your head, the possibility exists that you can get concussed, and it would not take much. So the risk is there for almost every sport. Even if you are playing tennis and you fall, concussion is a possibility. I understand why boxing can be the target, because it is the main goal is to hit each other. I have boxed, and I mean, I knew the risk, to be honest. As a student, I knew the risk. There is the risk of being concussed.
But say that you box, you're a former boxer, and you're still alive.
So with every sport, there is a risk. But I think the rewards of getting involved outweigh the risk. Why am I saying that? There's always a possibility that something could go wrong in any sport, but we don't look at that possibility most cases, we look at what the results can be for the person. So yes, I agree with parents who have that sort of concern, but I also let them know that the possibility of your child being harmed in boxing is as low as the possibility of your child being harmed in football. Is as low, is probably even lower than the possibility of the child being harmed in American football. So boxing's possibility of concussion deaths is as low as any other sport. It's not greater than any other sport. And as with all other sports, boxing is aiming to make the sport safer by ensuring that you always have that sort of a health aspect to it. That is the training, how it is done, what people should observe in the training. What when the boxing itself is taking place, what the doctors being available, and any sign of the referees being trained to ensure that no more is given than what you see, that a boxer is not able to win a fight, and so you take away the boxer from engaging in further punishment. So the training, both from an officiating point of view, the issue of having doctors present to ensure that every incident is looked at, the officiating is taking place, the education in terms of how training is done, making sure that the body is well hydrated, you are not taking the body through excess stresses by trying to lose weight, and so all of those have been looked at to ensure that boxing is made safer. I am convinced that boxing is as safe as any other sport, most other sport, but like any other, there is always a risk. So you'd have someone who has decided to take the risk and they pay for it with some harm. But they would tell you, 99.9% would tell you that it was worth it for them because they understood what they were getting into. So I cannot tell anybody to that boxing is completely safe, but I can tell them it's as safe as probably any other sport based on my research that I have paid attention to. And I would easily tell my daughter or my son, if I had a son, or any nephew of mine, that I would want to train them and make them into a boxing champion. Because I believe the possibility of them coming through is so great that, I mean, you can look beyond the the little percentage. Yeah, he might be affected, but it should not mean everyone should leave the sport because there's that possibility, or else there will be no sport at all, none whatsoever.
Well, that's quite interesting enough, and the comments is from referee Lyle Bullen saying that we'd rather stop 1,000 bouts too early than one too late. And Kathy Harper-Hall is saying that the safety of boxing lies in the rules and the role of the referee judges. As long as the coaches coach by the rules, the boxers should be safe. What say you? I think as a former boxer yourself, you will agree with both referee Lyle Bullen and Kathy Harper-Hall. Davis? Yeah, let me get it again. The safety of boxing lies in the rules and the role of the referee judges. As long as the coaches coach by the rules, the boxers should be safe. So I think it's making the point that it's refining on the point you are making, that boxing, as any other sport, is safe. And once you follow the rules, once the coaches coach, as Kathy is saying, once the coaches coach according to the rules, everything should be fine. And as a former boxer yourself, you will know the ins and outs of that. Sebastian, no doubt, as now a coach, a former boxer, he will know that as well. Lyle Bullen, boxer himself, former boxer himself, now a referee, will know about that. And I'm certain that Dr. Deborah and Stephen John who has been ringside of many of those fights will know likewise. Not a boxer, not a former boxer, but someone who has been, on the, around the ring, I should say, will also know that. Let's say what Stephen John is saying. You are also teaching that son or daughter how to fight for their dreams inside and outside the ring. Also, boxing is like chess. Yeah, I heard that point already. Davis Adams regarding boxing like chess, and they said it in the context of it's also a mind game as well. Davis?
Yeah, I want to echo that specific point. I believe who I am today in terms of my thought pattern, in terms of my how I operate in life, has been shaped to a greater extent by boxing. That's me. Boxing gave me that sense of self-esteem that I could achieve. It gave me that sense of feeling that if I work hard, I can gain anything that I put my mind to. And so boxing has shaped my thought pattern in that way, such that I believe that if I want to, I can walk through a wall. I mean, I would not walk through a wall literally. And any dream that I have, with the determination, with that desire to gain success. And I'm talking beating up on somebody, but to gain success, it has helped me as an individual. Okay, for example, now I am 55, almost, telling you my age. And I have decided that this is the best time for me to do my master's degree. And if I followed the noise on the outside, I would say, boy, that's not for you now. You're too old for that thing like of that sort. You sure you could do that? I never doubted myself. I knew that whatever I want to do, I can do it. And so boxing helped to shape that part of me. Boxing helped me to allow me to think fast, as Stefan would have said. Because when you're in a ring, you go there, you prepare physically. But when you get a person in front of you, everyone is so different. You have to think on a dime. Standing on a 10 cent with your big toe, and keeping your balance. You have to think on a dime. And boxing is a thought process. Yes, there's a physical aspect, but I think the greater percentage of your success in boxing comes through your thinking. It comes through your reasoning. It comes through you being able to make quick decisions in life. And that has affected me in a positive way. I'm able to make quick decisions. I'm not saying I'm always right because I'm dealing with organizations, but I'm able to come to deciding quickly how I should go about doing what I want to do. So boxing, yes, it gives you a physical sense of triumph, that you're able to overcome certain threshold in your physical body, go beyond certain pains of achieving a lot. But very importantly, when you get there to do it, it allows you to get through to the mental aspect now. How do I get around dealing with a taller guy, a shorter guy, a stronger guy, somebody who I can overcome using my smarts? So boxing, yes, it's a physical sport, but it is mainly won through your thinking, listening, and obeying instructions from those who are there to surround you and get you to a higher level. So boxing is a tremendous sport to get involved in. You have to think more in boxing than maybe in quite a lot of other sports, because you have to deal with differences, so many different. It's not like going and run. You have to run faster. Yes, you go and you could either run faster or you could run longer, or so on. And so, to a greater extent, it's a thought pattern how you develop your race and you work according to it. But in boxing, it's a constant mind game of chess in the ring. And it does help. It helps people in a very profound, positive way. And I would encourage anybody to get into boxing, not just for the physical triumphs and victories, but for the mental things that you're able to overcome as about training in boxing.
Okay, well, here is a comment there that this is not professional boxing. In this sport, the health and safety of the boxers are the primary concern. Our aim is to ensure that the boxer is not knocked out, but is able to participate in a fair and healthy environment. I think well said there.
Yeah, and I want to echo that. That is true. It's extremely true. So it starts from the gym. It starts from the coaches understanding the roles. It starts from the coaches understanding the rules governing boxing. Who do you put out? How do you put out somebody? And if, as Kathy would have said before, if you follow those, you would never have a situation where a boxer is placed in danger. So the last sentiment is extremely important in the development of boxing and the safety of boxing. If our coaches go according to the rules and follow it well, we would not have a boxer being endangered because he's overmatched being placed with someone. So it takes a coach to be not careful, not thinking, not being cognizant of what governs him. And of course, coaches like that need to be thrown out of the sport anyhow, to put boxers in jeopardy. So I agree with the both persons who would have intimated how boxing is made safe. It is made safe in the rules, and it's made safe in the application of the rules, starting from the coach and the gym and translating into the education of coaches, referees, judges, and surrounding with the medical personnel who will be there to ensure that we have a foolproof situation with boxing. Boxing is safe, and Grenada is so fortunate to have many doctors available to us who would come and do it without a charge. We are very, very, very fortunate in that situation. We are fortunate for the training that took place in Grenada in the past, and we have so many people who are qualified. We have coaches who are qualified. We have officials who are qualified. So boxing in Grenada is as safe as it can be in any country.
And safe as any sport as well, as you will say, because I want to make that point that Kathy raised there. It's important. That's why they have rules. And once they have all involved follow the rules, whether it's the referee, judge, whether the coaches, the boxers, the rules are there, to protect the boxers, and once they follow the rules, everything should be fine. But it's really, encouraging to know that we had a nice segue from the problems we have been having in terms of an association to the what is possible in terms of boxing, and your encouraging words out there as a member of the steering committee, and the hope that and gauging the support as well, gauging the support of fans, because there are folks who follow, probably diehard follow cricket or football, but they also are lover of boxing, and Davis, that Grenada has had its fair share of excitement in boxing over the years. It goes way back, I think back in the 80s, and since then, whether it was the OECS tournament, as I see Kathy said earlier, that is the hope also that as part of this steering committee's mandate, when the Boxing Association of Grenada is back on stream, that possible of hosting an OECS tournament, because we know of Grenada's exploits over the years in boxing, especially in the Eastern Caribbean. And as the president of the St. Lucia Boxing said, Grenada should really try to get things back in order ASAP, because it's important. Grenada is an important element of boxing in the OECS and the Eastern Caribbean. And I assume that this is something that you and the steering committee is working on, Adams.
Yeah, I want to I want to just segue into about the exploits of Grenadian boxers in the Caribbean. Up to 2016-17, Grenadian boxers ruled the Caribbean to a great extent. Our results was absolutely astounding at the Caribbean level for such a small island. And Kathy and the rest of the Caribbean, they're aware of that. So up to 2016, 2017, that was Grenadian boxing was at the pinnacle still. And then you see the follow then from that time to now, where we are having those issues. And it's because of structure. The proposed amendment actually took place somewhere around 2016, 17, 2016, sorry, 2015. And the proposed amendment is what has, even when the proposed amendment came, we are ruling. Now we are finding that that was what was supposed to govern us when it should not have been at all in the picture. So from the time the proposed amendment came, it seemed like something went wrong because up to that time, 2016, our boxers were flying really high. Our structure was absolutely fantastic, and so I want us to know that 4 or 5 years ago, 2016, 2017, we ruled the Caribbean by quite a margin in terms of size, having gold medals and silver medals and bronze medals. When the OECS boxing was in train, I can't recall how many times we won the OECS boxing, but it is at least 70% of the time because Grenada's boxing was at its pinnacle. And of course, with the sort of decentralizing of boxing in the Caribbean and Pan America, you find that we were not able to have OECS boxing as much as we wanted the Caribbean boxing. So all that led to a demise in boxing in Grenada and maybe in the Caribbean. I mean, you look at Dominica, Antigua. Antigua used to be one. You saw some of the most talented boxers, St. Kitts, St. Lucia. When I was boxing, I recall St. Lucia having some tremendous boxers, in 86, 87, 88, St. Vincent, the Gums. And it was really rumble in the jungle with boxing. So it was great times. I mean, I can't believe that we are running out of time, but it was great, great. It was great times of boxing in Grenada and the OECS and the Caribbean. I suspect that we'll get that back. The fact that the Caribbean boxing is putting itself together would rebound to OECS boxing taking place on a level that will encourage islands to invest into boxing again. Let me also add quickly that the letter we sent to AIBA, I want to reiterate, it is going to the Ministry of Sports. So we are not doing anything in the dark. It's going to Grenada Olympic Committee. It's going to AIBA. It's going to our Caribbean bodies because we want to be open and transparent. We don't want a situation where we do not have minutes of our activities cannot be given for 4 and 5 years anymore. The days for that are gone. We want to be able to account to our membership. We want them to hold the executive, whoever that executive is selected or nominated or elected, that executive is held accountable for the plans and operations of the Boxing Association. Yes, it's voluntary, but we all get satisfaction from giving time and talent to see people grow. And that's important too. So it is not going to be something done in the dark. That's why I'm able to speak openly and honestly about it and represent that interim committee that decided that we have to do something to get the wider public to know where we are at and to involve them and to get the suggestions and the reinforcement by people like Roger and Wilbur and those from outside of the Grenada letting us know. So those are good for us. I am going to leave here feeling better. The interim committee, the group that has been formed that came together to do that will feel better. And we're going to reach out and reach out and reach out to every member and ask them to come on board and let's work together to get Grenada boxing back to where it was. I have no ulterior motives for doing this, none whatsoever. It's none whatsoever for doing this. It's just that boxing did well for me. and my family, because I am who I am because of boxing. It has helped me in my job. It has helped me in my dealings with people. It has helped me in meeting people. I went to almost every part of the world because of boxing, both as a coach and as a boxer. Yes. And Kathy knows that. And so I want to give back. And if my mouth will give back something, then that's it. I'm willing to allow my mouth to give back and hold feet to fire. Basically, that's what I'm doing for the group that's decided that let's do a letter and send it out there and let them get involved in what's happening. So I don't want us to lose sight of that at all, with all of the nostalgia that we've had in terms of what boxing has done in Tantin, in the Youth Center, in Queen's Park, and so on, of all the great boxers that we've had, from Gat Felix to Bonnie Wilson to Tad Joseph to Christopher Collins to Kenneth Joseph to Jewel Lewis to Alex James. I mean, we can go on and on. The young ones we have, like Rufus Clement, and I can't remember all of their names. We have our diaspora out there working with us and providing boxers to represent Grenada. I mean, we cannot let that go to waste at all. We cannot. And that's where I stand at present.
Well, quite a bit from you there, and no doubt we'll be looking forward to most of, if not all of what you say really come to fruition. Well, let's just take a short break, and we'll be back momentarily just to let you know of some that program changes, rather, to let you know that come next Thursday, our program will be moving to a new time slot of 8 o'clock rather than the 6:30. The 1 o'clock Saturday Sports Special will continue at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but just a program change for the TalkSports program on a Thursday evening, moving to a new time slot of 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. rather than the 6:30 to 7:30. Right. So just remember that our the new time slot for the program will be at 8 o'clock on a Thursday rather than the 6:30. So let's head back to Davis. Some very interesting comments came through while you were on discussing. Let me go from them. Rudy and Sylvan is in Toronto, Canada is in, but the boxer also needs to know the full rule about boxing, because in the ring is not the coach. Obviously, he's in the ring. Dr. Stephen John is saying that health and safety is of paramount importance. Once the rules are correctly followed, it is one of the safer sports. She also says Grenada was next in line to host the OECS tournament, and that 1 year, 11 months and days is way too long without structure. It's going back to the earlier point. And as usual, Lincoln Toro Deputy will say, and the greatest of all, fingers and Trevor Thwaites. Very much fingers and Trevor Thwaites. And Wilbur Thomas is obviously ending by saying, Davis, you got my full support. So both Wilbur Thomas and Roger Duncan saying that you got their support, and I'm assuming that Wilbur, that once things are in place, that through live sports and others, you will be able, as you say, to probably host a tournament, whether it's probably a schoolboys tournament. My hope is for one day that we see, just as how we have inter-secondary school sports, and whether it's a football. Most of we have football, netball, and track and field as the mainstay in terms of support and what have you regarding that. They have other swimming and things like that, but when it comes to over the years, the inter-secondary school athletics is big. Inter-secondary school football once was very big. Inter-secondary school netball, very big. Tantin was alive. My hope is that other sports like boxing will one day have inter-secondary school boxing tournament. There's the hope, and there is I am saying that structure in place, as Dr. John is saying. There is a hope that this could be part of the agenda to get sport back through the schools, because we know school sports. There isn't much of club sports in Grenada, except probably for football. Football may be the only exception with the Grenada Football Association, but most of the sports, and the competitive sports in particular, it's through the school. School sports is big, like, thinking like in Jamaica, for example. School sports, whether it's the football,
Michael,
netball, very big indeed.
Michael,
yeah,
I want to expand on the point you made about in the schools boxing. If we get to that, no, and I'm gonna make that point. It might sound hilarious, but it will be true. With intercol, there are days when the only people in the park are the officials. Yes, the officials with the athletes, and so intercall has had to do, and I'm very intimately involved in intercall because I do commentary ever so often. So you're aware of that.
Yeah, but particularly the early days, the first day,
yes,
the first day or two, the first day or two,
especially yes. If you were to have boxing in as part of secondary school sports, I can assure you, every day we'll have crowds bigger than even the last day of intercall, because people are so gravitate towards boxing as a sport and want to see what is going to happen. There's so much up in the air. You have what you might call folks who are you know that they are going to win the race. In essence, the betting favorite is already there. You know who's going to win. With boxing, you can't say. So there's that element of anxiety, anticipation with boxing. If boxing was to become an inter-secondary school sport, which I believe it can, the secondary school sports, whoever is organizing, will recognize that they will not have an issue with attendance as it relates to boxing, because boxing brings out so much passion. So I think it's incumbent that all the stakeholders start working together along with the Boxing Association of Grenada to ensure that boxing becomes part of the sports calendar of secondary schools, but more so, boxing becomes part of the school, such that we can point our students into a direction that will assist them to become better students in the school and have a sense of achievement. That, for me, is even the greater result. If you can point a lot of students into boxing, you're going to see improved boys and girls at our secondary school.
Yeah, and Sebastian made a very important point towards the end here, that we also need a coach within the Ministry of Sports to assist with the grassroots program. And I it's an important point you made there too, because I recall when there was a boxing tournament, and there was the girls match up, and one of the girls from Wesley College, and as part of the crowd, the support, her classmates as well as her villagers, they came out to support her, and I assume that is all part of the hype in boxing. As you say, you never know what could happen on the day or the night of the card, and it's so unpredictable that while in probably track and field, you can probably say, oh, this guy has been running very well, it's likely that he can win the race. In boxing, you never know whether they'll go the distance or whether they could be a knockout in the first round, Well, I wouldn't want to say knockout, but referee stop the fight. Let's just see referee stop the fight in the first round. But it has been a pleasure. We have covered quite a lot. I know the time, you might be saying, wow, you realize that we would have been able to cover so much. But I want to thank you, Davis Adams, for being part of the discussion today. And it's my hope that the steering committee can get things going, and that the Boxing Association of Grenada can return to some sort of normalcy. And as you say, you can get some sort of quick response from AIBA, and you can have the meeting, and probably before the end of the month, we can hear some good news on the part of the Boxing Association of Grenada. Davis, just some final comments from you as we get ready to wrap up.
I want to thank you for giving me the platform to represent boxing, to be able to speak to the general public about what's happening. But I think I want to take it positive, that there is a way, a better way that we can go. We have so much in store, so much that we can achieve, that once we get over this hurdle of getting our association functioning, we can go a long way to bringing back boxing to where it was, bringing back the representation where it was, and Grenada on the map where it was as it relates to boxing. I'm really sorry that I could not be able to speak to so many other people who would have gotten us to this point, because there are so many names we can call, so many associations we can call, and so many sponsors that we can call, whose name we can call, that would have assisted us. Maybe we need a separate program to talk about the input of associations and sponsors that helped us. But all for now, in order to get to there, we must get to fixing our business. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to fix it well, and once again become what we should be as an association, representing our boxers and pointing us forward. So really grateful on behalf of the members of that committee that has been formed to try to bring some resolution to what is happening with our association together. And whoever is elected, when that election is held, they have my support to ensure that ideas come and activities are enacted to the benefit of our young people in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Thank you for that platform, Bascom, and I hope you continue to do what you're doing for sports in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique.
Just a quick yes or no. Are you making yourself available for the executive position?
The truth of the matter is, first and foremost, my thing is to get this thing out of the way. No, I can be influenced into accepting a position. I can be influenced, but I'm not setting it up as my goal.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's Davis Adams, former national boxer and coach, giving us his take on the attempts by the steering committee, as a member of the steering committee, to get the Boxing Association of Grenada back, their house back in order, to get that dream house back in order. And we wish them all the best. We are hoping that we will win for boxing. Boxing has been a staple of sports in Grenada for many years, and we are hoping that they really get things back in order. Just a few words before we get the wrap up. So, folks, don't forget to join me on Thursday at 8 o'clock, the new time for TalkSports. Will be on air at 8 o'clock on Thursday. That's the 15th of April. That's our new time slot, 8 to 9 p.m. on Thursday for TalkSports. And then next Saturday from 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I can tell you now that come next Saturday, our guest will be Harvey Glantz. That's Coach Harvey Glantz, coach of Kirani James. He will be on our program on Saturday from 1 o'clock. It's your invitation to join us, because we'll be talking lots about track and field, preparation of Kirani, and other things to be discussed. So once again, thank you for being part of our program. Let's see if I have, with that, I want Davis as Prime Minister, not BAG President. Toro always, Toro, I give you the last of it. No doubt. Thank you very much, folks. It's been a pleasure. Sebastian, Toro, Wilbur, Dr. Deborah, Kathy, all of you folks, you have been inspiration to the program, and I want to thank you for being part of the program and being, providing your tidbits on it. And the invitation is yours to join us on Thursday at 8 o'clock in the PM. That's 8 o'clock in the PM. 8 o'clock in the PM for our another Talk Sports program. Until then, have a pleasant weekend.